What's going on, Boulder?
Building. I love everything that we're doing, and I love Boulder, Colorado. I do.
We're talking to our guy TJ from College Football Addiction. TJ, thank you for pulling up with us once again. This Coach Prime coaching stuff was crazy. Check out our last video. We dove into the potential of Prime exiting out and going to the NFL. Well, that's not the only rumor that's going around, TJ. This one to me is pretty wild, and I don't think it's realistic, but it's always fun to talk about. So let's jump into that. Shout out to our partners at BetUS. They're hooking up the gamer. 150% bonus on your first deposit up to $2,000 by using promo code YouTube150. TJ, Colorado baseball is looking for a new coach. And they posted a tweet about it. And FanDuel decided to have some fun with people. What do you think about dual sport Coach Prime?
First of all, you're right. This is insane. This is like beyond crazy because of the amount of time that it takes to be a coach, right? If you could just coach the games, I think it's doable. But because of recruiting, because of how long, like baseball recruiting is ridiculous too. For those maybe not familiar, baseball recruit, like none of the coaches are recruiting for 2025 or 2026. Like recruiting happens like years out because you have to find these guys. By the time you have found them for the upcoming season, they're maybe going to the MLB. They're already signed with, or not signed with, but they're already committed to a program. And just, it's not like football. Flips don't really happen. Now they do have, occasionally you'll get a flip in baseball, but it's not like football. And you're recruiting so far out. So these coaches, they're much smaller classes. Obviously, baseball only had 11.7 scholarships. That's going to tinker up a little bit with new NCAA rules that are coming down and stuff. But they're much smaller signing classes that you can sign, but you're recruiting guys way off in the distance. Like I'm talking 3 and 4 years at a time. Can you imagine Coach Prime at an 8th grade baseball game, a travel ball game on a Saturday, recruiting 8th graders, 9th graders? Like this would be the most absurd thing ever. All of that said, I have learned that you just don't doubt Coach Prime. And so if you know, I'm not going to say that he couldn't, I'm not going to say that he can't. It would be the most absurd thing of all time. He would almost have to hire an extra recruiting hand they would need, you get 3 coaches in baseball along with your head coach. I know way too much about college baseball, clearly, but you would almost have to hire a 4th one to make up for the recruiting that he literally just would not have the time to do because of doing both. If you could just coach the games, baseball season starts in February. It's over in June. He could do that. Like you could get away with that. The recruiting part of it would be an absolute nightmare, and it would be really, really tough for anyone to just have that many hours in a day. That would be the challenge. But again, I'm not going to doubt Coach Prime on anything at this point.
Right. And there's one thing you can't do. You cannot doubt Coach Prime. And we got to talk about why you can't doubt him, because I think, honestly, there might be a path to it. I know, sounds wild, but hear me out. But first, shout out to our partners over there at BetUS. Shout out to BetUS. They are hooking up the gamer. 150% bonus on your first deposit of $2,000. 125% bonus on your second and thirds by using the promo code YouTube150. And we are in NFL playoff season, so you know we've got to go check and see what the games look like from your NFL divisionals. You got NBA. BetUS has all the action for you. They also hook you up with Gambler's Insurance. And so they're going to give you 10% back on your net losses twice a year to keep you in the game. So if you want to go check out and get into the action, look at BetUS. 150% bonus on your first deposit. 125% bonus on your second and third deposits up to $2,000 by using promo code YouTube150. BetUS, where the game begins. TJ, I think I may have found us a path for Coach Prime to be able to do both. Hear me out. This is something that I've seen with a few teams, and this is a very common practice. What if Coach Prime recruits baseball players that also play football? Now, I know it's a crazy thought, but two-sport players happen very often in football. I mean, you saw Chris Winkie, as a, diehard Florida State fan. He played pro baseball before he came back and played college. I've seen at, one school I cover, Oklahoma, they had one of the best running backs in the country come in that also came to play baseball. So it's not something, Kyler Murray played baseball, got drafted to the MLB, and decided to stay in college football and go to the NFL and play quarterback. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. It's not too crazy, but TJ, if he goes out there and recruits for both at the same time, finds guys that are willing to play both sports, now the whole team can't be that way, but having a good mixture of stars that can do that seems enticing, right? I think what Deuce Robinson is now at Florida State is a two-sport guy as well. He's known for baseball. Does that sound crazy?
Still a little bit. And the craziest part is that, let me move this camera a little bit. There's a little guy over my shoulder right there, Jameis, right there next to Kobe.
Yes.
Jameis did it. Jameis won a Heisman and was the starting, he played well. He was the starting closer for Florida State the year he won the Heisman and had a 1.9 ERA. A 0.9 ERA. He was ridiculous. Florida State, I know this is not a Florida State show. Florida State signed 4 guys this year that are dual sport athletes. Now, I think only one of them is going to end up playing in the spring. I think a lot of times you double recruit there and they only end up playing one because, again, spring football happens right in the middle of the season. It was crazy to watch Jameis literally throw off his shoulder pads from the spring game and then run to the baseball field because they had a game later that day and play in both. That is rare. You mentioned Kyler Murray. You're talking about Heisman Trophy level guys that are able to do both and do both at a really high level. But like I just said, they signed 4 guys in just last year's recruiting class that are dual sport athletes and could potentially play. And then you add in Deuce Robinson, right? They've got 5 guys on the roster right now that could theoretically play. What you would have to do is you'd have to find those pitchers that probably aren't playing football because that's, you're having to devote so much time there, but athletes to just go out and hit the ball, I guess it is doable. If that's the route you go, and if you go into the route of double recruiting or finding guys that maybe fit that skill set, it takes down the amount of effort that you would have to otherwise recruit. And then I guess maybe you go pretty heavy portal. We've seen them do that in football. Maybe that's the other side of it. You go portal for some of your guys. Colorado's still a draw, right? Being around Coach Prime is still a draw. You're talking about a guy who played in the World Series. So I don't know, maybe I'm opening up to the idea a little bit now that you're kind of convinced.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many possibilities when it comes to that, because when it comes to Prime being the only player in history to play in a World Series and in a Super Bowl and doing those feats that we've never seen before, like you said, it's hard to question Prime when those possibilities do exist. So I think it's a very much ridiculous notion or even idea of potential with it, but I think it's a fun conversation because right now, as we talked about before, there are so many there's so many stories flying out right now of Coach Prime going to the NFL. And to be honest, to even add to that, TJ, this is one thing I'm shocked about. Why haven't we heard Prime's name more in the collegiate level to take another job? Why haven't we heard much about other schools? Because I've said this to Buffs fans. Prepare yourself not to say that your program isn't worthy, but saying that you're going to have a lot of big money schools trying to make splash hires as of late. That seems to be the big one, especially coaches that can handle the portal well. And you said that recently, in that portal haul that Colorado's done the last 2 years, bringing in over 50 in both and then seeing success from it, schools are drooling at the mouth to be able to do that exact same thing. So why do you think we haven't heard much of Prime when it comes to the collegiate level?
Because this is the first year since 2019 that the SEC returns all 16 coaches.
Fair point.
That's the reason why, right? We thought Billy Napier was getting fired this year. We thought Sam Pitt. Look who Arkansas hired in basketball. They went out and got Coach Cal. And I'm not saying that Arkansas specifically, but Hugh Freeze is on the hot seat right now. Billy Napier still needs to win at Florida. Arkansas with Sam Pittman had a better year than expected. They need to win. What's Lane Kiffin going to do? If they have another 10-win season, is he back? You very well know what's going to happen with Venables, what's going to happen with Mark Stoops at Kentucky. There's a lot of coaches that I think are varying levels of hot seat, but for the first time, and again, over 5 years, we have had a SEC cycle where all of the coaches are back. And so why hasn't this happened? Because nobody got fired this year, right? There were certain coaches, that went out. But look at North Carolina. Look what they went and did. They went and got a very different coach than Coach Prime, but they made a massive splash hiring Belichick. And so you look at the reasons this hasn't happened. Well, where's Coach Prime going to go? He's not going to go lower than the Big 12, right? And so if you kind of put the Big 10 and the SEC up top, and then you kind of have the Big 12 and the ACC. Well, I don't necessarily know that he would go ACC either, but how many coaches moved on from the Big 10, right? There weren't very many from there either. And so, you want to know why? It's because for the 34 programs that would be a step up, right, to a little higher to that Big 2 out of the Power 4, none of them moved on from coaches. And so if he doesn't go to the NFL now, right, if we get another cycle into this, it'll happen next year with an SEC program, with a Big 10 program, with maybe one of your elites in the ACC. I would not be surprised at all if you start to hear those rumors. But to me, that's why you haven't heard it this year. No, there's no openings. There's nowhere for him to go.
That's true. There's not very many jobs that you would expect for Coach Prime to get his hands on. But I think next year would be the year where you'd see most of that. But he's also building something special there at Boulder, and he always professes his love for it. So TJ, man, you made a fantastic point of ain't no SEC jobs open, ain't no Big 10 jobs open. And if he goes anywhere, it's going to be somewhere in that Southeast area back home to Florida where he can recruit them Florida and Georgia boys that he's been bringing to Boulder. But I have to give it to Colorado for giving Prime the chance first before anybody else really was going to pull the trigger. It was between them and USF. And because he got the opportunity, he's able to build that legacy there. So shout out, TJ. Thank you so much for pulling up. TJ from College Football Addiction. Man, let the people know where they can find you and all the great content you're putting together.
Yeah, College Football Addiction. We actually, a couple of buddies and me are starting a pro channel too. We haven't even talked about this off air, but it's the same thing. It's Pro Football Addiction too. So we actually talked about Coach Prime over there. We got some content on that, and it's brand new. So if you have an NFL team, if you are going to be watching the divisional playoffs this weekend, go check that out too.
Awesome stuff. That's cool. Yeah, I was thinking about doing something similar, but hey, look at you already going, building up something new. Can't beat that, right? Shout out to our partners over there at BetUS. They're hooking you up, 150% bonus on your first deposit of $2,000 by using promo code YouTube150. And we'll drop some more videos here in the very near future. You can see TJ's link in the description below. We'll talk soon.
Thanks, buddy.